Alright boys, so over on the NA version of the game, we have the Slapstick Museum event going up, and with this event, we're actually going to be getting 3 new buffs for 3 servants, those being Leonardo da Vinci, Amakusa Shiro, and Jin K. And I think all of these buffs are actually really solid, so I wanted to make this separate video kind of addressing and talking about what these new buffs are going to be, and what they actually are going to do for the servants. Overall, I think if you just want the long and short of it, Da Vinci becomes a bit better, not super insane, but she does get a nice little buff that's going to help her out. Jin K actually becomes runnable, I would say. She's someone you can actually use, and Amakusa Shiro, I mean, it's not like he really needed anything else because Shiro as is was kind of already really nutty. I mean, even that NP is still so good to this day, but they just made him insane for no reason. I have no idea why they just tacked on like 2 like insanely broken effects on there. But before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for daily FGO content, and make sure you peep those links down in the description down below, primarily that Twitch link where every weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time I primarily am playing FGO, but sometimes I'll be playing Arknights. Like, I believe this should be going up on Friday, and today we should be playing Arknights over there, and maybe a little bit of FGO because I'm a tad behind on the JP event right now, but usually it's FGO and I sprinkle in some other games. I played Code Vein on Wednesday as well, so that was pretty fun. So yeah, if you just want to see me play some games live, that's every weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But with all that being said, let's start getting into this video, starting off with Leonardo da Vinci, where they're giving her something very simple. They're just slapping on a 20% party-wide arts buff for her for 3 turns. You can think of this like her charisma, because charismas are usually a 20% attack buff for the entire party, but instead of attack, she's giving arts. So this can be really good. I mean, for herself, it's raising her damage. For her arts cards up here, they're technically getting an NP gain buff because the arts performance is going to buff the NP gain of those arts cards. So that's all really good. But the thing that I like about it as well is that because it's an arts buff, let's say you're using her with Waver, Tamamo, Castoria, any of these more support type casters, they can actually benefit from these arts buffs, right? Because it's going to buff the NP gain of their arts cards, and they can actually use that. They don't really care about their arts cards getting more damage because, again, their main role is to buff how good your other servants are going to be, but they can take advantage of this as kind of like an NP gain buff so they can get to their NPs faster and then make Da Vinci look better if you're using her in one of those type of team comps, or if you're using Da Vinci with another DPS servant. Let's say you've got Da Vinci there for like an arts AoE NP, and then you've got someone like Nemo or like Murasaki Summer, like a single target arts rider as well for whatever reason, right? You need the AoE and the single target, someone to take care of the goons and someone to actually take care of the boss. They can also benefit from this and get a little bit of damage. So it's nothing super insane, but it is a nice buff that she's getting. It's really nice if you just want to use Da Vinci as the primary like DPS person and you want to give like kind of a pseudo buff to your supports, or if you want to use her in kind of like a hybrid style team comp where you have her as an AoE and someone else as a single target. So that's all fine and dandy. That's really good. Amakusa's is really nutty. I mean, yeah, it's nice that they like updated the drain, but like this was already really crazy. 20% NP every single turn for 5 turns on a 10-turn cooldown pretty much said that like on an even uptime of like it's up for 5 turns, down for 5 turns, you know, you're basically getting a big glob of NP. But then for whatever reason, they reduced the cooldown to 8. So now you have all of these buffs up for 5 turns and it's only down for 3, which is really nice. But they updated the drain so it can just be anybody, right? You can suck anybody's gauge by 1. And then he also smacks them with a 20% buster resistance down for 5 turns, and then just also gives himself a 20% battery. Like, they just absolutely gave this man an insane skill for no reason, right? Because this was already fine. I was like, yeah, the extra NP every single turn is kind of nice, and sure, you don't really fight like undead or demons like all that often, right? But it's, you know, it's there if you can proc it off. But it's just crazy now. He has like even more control in boss fights. He can do a lot more damage. He has immediate NP, and he has NP over the next 5 turns, and it's only down for 3. Like, you could basically say that like this guy is always passively genning NP, which is really nuts to me, because it's not like his NP gain is naturally like bad or anything. I mean, his arts hits could be a little bit better here. They're only like 2, but you guys know that Buster Servants are all about critting, so with a higher NP gain, even though the hits are a bit lower, you can kind of balance it out with some crits on those arts cards. So he's already like not terrible on that aspect, and this was already really good. And then they just slapped on a whole bunch of other really strong effects, because keep in mind, like, Amakusa already has like a buff for his NP gain, already like makes stars as well, and then he also has like a stun that's better than a stun because it bypasses the stun resistance, and he has a buster buff, and he can yeet everybody's buffs off of them, right? Like, you could pretty much just permanently deny the boss from having any buffs unless they're unremovable buffs. But it's just crazy. Like, they took this guy who was already pretty good and they just made him nuts, right? That's why when we were doing the tier list, I put Amakusa really high up there, because every time I use this guy, it just feels really good. Like, he just feels really strong. It feels like I'm just doing way too much. The only thing, again, that I have against him is that his attack is a little bit low, and he's a ruler, right? So you don't really get a lot out of his offenses, right? They really had to give him a lot so he can actually do some damage. But again, also being a ruler makes him really nice for a lot of those boss fights, because it gives him a lot of natural bulk, right? Because he resists like pretty much all of the main classes, so he's not really taking a lot of damage either. So it just makes him really nice. I absolutely love that they threw him this buff. As you guys know, I do also like Amakusa a lot. You should expect a video on him because he's going on right up in like the next day or two. So yeah, this is one of those guys that I really like, and they just continue to make him even better. I don't think we'll ever see him get another buff, because they have shown that they'll buff skills twice, or they'll buff an NP twice with like Emiya or Vlad, right? But I think Amakusa is just fine as is. I think they literally took the servant who was kind of like not good at all, and they fully transformed him into being a very strong servant. I really like what they've done with this guy, and it just makes me question, why can't we do this for other people? Like, why can't we turn a lot of these other bum, like, year one servants that just aren't very good into viable guys? Like, where are my Eric Blood Axe buffs, right? Like, let's make this guy really insane. But on the real, the last servant we have is Jin K. This was pretty much not a skill at all. Like, dude, 30% crit star gen for 3 turns. Whoop-de-doo, bro. That's sure, bro. Like, not very good at all. It's laughable how bad this skill was. And then they just slapped on a whole bunch of really good stuff. So the King special damage mod ain't bad, because you do have a nice, decent chunk of servants here that you could use this up against. Obviously, I think it's because of the lore, because she tried to assassinate Qi Shi Huang, and I believe she actually failed, if I remember correctly, but someone in the comments can actually correct me on that one. But that's really nice. 50% special damage mod is good, but they also very wisely tacked this on there as well. So what this is going to allow her to do is that every time she attacks with her quick card, she's going to be able to lower the enemy's defense. So this is still going to give you extra damage even if you're not fighting a king, which I think was very muchly needed, very greatly needed for this servant, because you didn't want her to like turn into someone who, like, what if you weren't fighting kings, she was pretty much a dead servant, like she wasn't doing anything. So this at least lets her do something even if you're not fighting a king, but she does even better if you are fighting a king, right? If that makes sense. And then they buffed this up a little bit to 50%, which Jin K really needs, because as you guys know, assassins are supposed to be star gens, but they gave her 2 hits on all of her quick cards, so I don't know what they were planning on her being able to do. And I guess they just slapped this on, you know, when they released her. They were like, yeah, here, have this 30%, it'll kind of fix her a little bit. It's like, dude, no, it's not good at all, not good. But overall, I think this set of buffs is very nice, and I feel like this kind of goes back to a point that I'm always making whenever I talk about like new celebrations or new events. And at the very least, you know, this event might be kind of bummy, but at least there's servant buffs. Like, things are kind of changing in the game, and that's something that I'm always asking DW and now Lesengal to do, because, you know, if you just keep putting out like costumes or just buffs here and there for servants that desperately need it, because we have so many servants in the game that just need stuff to be thrown their way, that you could easily be like, all right, this event we're gonna buff Eric Bloodaxe, and then we're gonna buff Blackbeard in the next one, and then we're gonna buff Asterios, right? Like, we can definitely buff a lot of like not just lower rarity servants, but just other servants that could really use the help. Like Gawain could use some help, Lancelot could use some help, like all of these, like even like these higher rarity servants could use some of these buffs. And it at least turns like what would have been a complete L of an event, right, that nobody was looking forward to at the very least being like, well, I can do these rank up quests, get a little bit of Saint Quartz. You know, if it kicks me up to the missions that we have for every 10 rank up quests that you do, you get 10 Saint Quartz. That's even better as well. And then even if you don't have Da Vinci or you don't have Amakusa, you can at least do it for Jin K, because they threw in a servant that everybody should have. So I don't know, like I think they really should be pushing more of like these buffs and everything, and especially costumes as well. That's another thing that I do like about this, because the event at least brings a costume, right? And we've seen with, like, say, Kintoki, or with someone like Mordred, right? How they've gone from servants that people may or may not have summoned for originally, but then they drop that Kintoki costume, they drop that Mordred costume, and like how many more people want those servants now because they got absolute banger costumes, right? So I don't know. It's just at the end here, you know, we're supposed to be talking about the buffs, but I'm like, yeah, just like put out more of this stuff, right? I'm just asking for like a little bit more from FGO, right? Especially the more that I play other mobile games and stuff, I'm expecting more and more from FGO, and I'm like, come on, you guys are like the #1 mobile game. You guys can push it a little bit harder. You guys can give us a little bit more, because I'm seeing this nothing burger event that nobody cares about, and at least there's some cool stuff in there. Like, I'm at least excited for the costume, and I'm excited to buff up some of my servants, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I think all of these buffs are rather solid. The Da Vinci one probably could have been a bit stronger, right? But that's just me looking at her being an AoE art servant with 1 hit on the NP. But again, I think they kind of also realized that Da Vinci's already got a really strong kit. Like, Da Vinci's already doing a lot of really, really strong stuff, so they probably didn't want to break the servant too hard, and they were like, this is probably the best thing we can do. But the other two just look absolutely phenomenal. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace, late guys.